uploading a folder from a hard drive, and also in the video description, you'll see a 2021 sales folder that we'll be using in that lesson. You'll also learn how to search for files, how to add shortcuts to my drive, well, your drive. And in lesson 13, you'll learn how to work with Drive Priority and Workspaces. They're only available if you have a Google Workspace business account. We'll move on to changing Google Drive settings and then end this module by signing into multiple Google accounts. The first thing we're going to do is go to google.com and we're going to sign in to Google Apps. And when you use the blue sign in button in the upper right hand corner of the screen, it signs you into all of the Google apps. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And this is where I give my disclaimer. I will be using 2 business accounts through this course. At the end of this module, you'll learn how to add another account so you can switch back and forth between multiple accounts. The accounts that I'm using, I created just for these videos. And so, in other words, if you try to email me at any of the email addresses you see me using, you will not get a response. So I'm going to go ahead and put in what I call my primary email address. And then I'm going to go ahead and click next. It's going to prompt me for my password, and I can show it by checking this box. And once I have it in, I'm going to go ahead and click next. So it takes me back to google.com, but this time when I look in the upper right corner, instead of the blue sign in button, I have access to my account represented by the letter T, the first initial of my first name. And to the left of that, you will see a series of 9 dots. And we're going to use the apps menu to access Drive. From within Drive, let's go to the apps menu. And you can see that I can get to my account from here. Here's all the apps that I can get into. And as I keep scrolling down, you'll see other apps that are connected as well. Let's review the Drive display screen. So you already know where the apps menu is. And also to the right of that is how you can access your Google account. I'll go over to the upper left. The icon for Drive and the word Drive are both links. So sometimes if you're just sitting in Drive and you're working on other windows on the internet, Drive may get stagnant. And so you can click on Drive or the icon in order to refresh the screen. Underneath that on the left, this area on the left is known as your menu. And this is one of the things you won't have if you're using a personal Google account. You won't have the priority there. And so don't worry about that. Like I said, later on, you'll see how that works, even if you don't have it. My Drive is like your main repository. So whenever you go to Drive, unless you have priority and you switch it, it will always go to my Drive. Now, I happen to have a folder in here from another Google course that I did, but if your Drive may be empty, and you're going to learn more about how to use it during this module. And then there's another one that's shared drives, where you can have a shared drive that you use if you're like working with a team. Then there's shared with me. Any files and folders that have been shared with me would show up here. I have some things under recent from a previous course that I did. Starred is just another way for you to easily find files or folders. You can star them, and then everything that you star will be in that starred category. And then you have trash, which is where anything that is deleted will go. And it empties the trash after 30 days. The items in trash will be deleted automatically after 30 days, unless you go in and manually tell it to empty the trash. And then at the bottom, it gives you the amount of storage that you're currently using, and it allows you to get to storage. So when I go into storage, it again is showing me the total amount used, and it divides it in a business account, at least it does. So it's telling me how much in Drive, Gmail, Photos, and then it lists all the files that are using Drive storage there. So I'm going to just go back to my Drive. Now at the top, you have your search bar, right? You can search anywhere in Drive, whether it's in any of these different categories, it will find it, and you'll learn how to search. In order to get help, you can use the question mark to go to support, and then you have a gear that takes you through settings. The middle of the screen is showing you My Drive, anything that you have in My Drive. So I happen to have a folder there. If I had files there, it would be a category called Files, so on and so forth. And My Drive is a drop down where I can recreate everything that is on that new button at the top of the menu. So I can do it over at New, or I can click the down arrow on My Drive to access the same menu. To the right, you have an icon, and that will let you switch to list layout. If I click on it, it switches to grid layout. And once we get some files and folders in here, we'll revisit the layouts. And then you'll notice on the right, you have this details and activity screen for My Drive. I can close it by using the X in its upper right hand corner, and then that information icon is view details, so I can get that panel open again. And now we're going to create a file from within Drive. Again, we can use the new icon on the menu on the left, or your My Drive drop down. Either way, you'll see that you have new folder, file upload, folder upload, and then you have Google Docs, Google Sheets, slides, forms, and more. And we're going to hover over the arrow to the right of Google Docs, and we're going to choose blank document. And I'll show you here that the untitled document opened on a new tab in your browser window. You'll learn more about the common features across most Workspace apps and more in depth about Google Docs in a later module. But for right now, if you have a summary and outline window open on the left, you can close it by using the left arrow. And where it says type at to insert, we're going to just type a brief sentence or two. So I'm going to type Google Drive is the file storage app in Google Workspace. You can store Google Apps files as well as other file types. And in parentheses, I'm going to put Microsoft Office, comma, PDF, comma, .mp4, comma, etc. in Drive. And so notice at the top, it's either saying saved, right? If it already disappeared, where it's that little cloud with the check mark, if you hover over that, it will say see document status. And so you can see that all changes have been saved to Drive. and that this document is not ready for offline use. And I'm going to just ignore that for right now. So it's automatically saving. Here it lets me know that the last edit was seconds ago. And in the upper left where it says untitled document, if you hover over there and you click, it's going to want to name it like the first sentence you type. And I'm going to just modify that. I want the name to just be Google Drive. And when I do that edit and press enter, it gives it that name and it's saved in Drive. So because I'm kind of done with this document now, the Google Drive doc that we just created, I can close the browser tab that it's on, and I'm still in my Drive. And now you can see I have a files category and it shows that Google Drive document. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can copy a file in Google Drive. Now, before we do that, I have this file selected, and I can tell that it's selected because the name of the file at the bottom has blue shading. And I want to look at this details on the right side. So it's showing me a little preview of the document, and when I click on it, it takes me into the document, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and close that browser tab. It also lets me know who has access, details about the file, including where it's located, when it was last modified, opened, and created, and where you can add a description. So one way you can copy a file is you can right-click. I'm going to right-click on that Google Drive file, and I'm going to choose Make a Copy. It lets me know in the lower left that it's creating a copy, and then that it did create a copy. And I'm going to dismiss that pop-up. And you can see that I have Google Drive and copy of Google Drive. Since the copy of Google Drive is what's selected, I'm going to just do Control-C on my keyboard to copy it. And then I'm going to click anywhere on my Drive screen and do Control-V. And it's going to give me a pop-up, which I'm going to allow. So in the lower left-hand corner, it lets me know that it's working. And now you'll see that I have Google Drive, copy of Google Drive, and copy of Google Drive. I like to give options. So just like I showed you 2 different ways to copy a file, I'm going to show you 2 different ways of moving a file to the trash. So you don't want it anymore. You don't need it anymore. I'm going to right-click on the copy of Google Drive file. And down at the bottom, I'm going to choose Remove. And then it's going to confirm that I'm moving it to the trash, that the copy of Google Drive will be deleted forever after 30 days. I'm going to click on Move to Trash. Now, another way of doing it, and you can see in the lower left, you can undo that if you need to. Another way of doing it is by dragging and dropping it onto trash. So I'm going to do the copy of Google Drive. I'm going to just click and hold on it, and I'm going to drag it over to trash on the menu on the left and drop it. I get the same confirmation, and I'm going to choose Move to Trash again. Now let's go to trash. And I mentioned earlier when we were doing our tour of the screen that everything will be deleted after 30 days unless you want to ever manually come in. You can do that and choose to empty trash up in the right. I'm going to go back to my drive. I'm also going to show you 2 different ways to upload a file from your hard drive to Drive. And the first way is I'm going to use the New button on the left, and I'm going to choose File Upload. And then I'm already in the directory where I had the files from the video description. And I'm going to select the Learn It logo and choose the Open button. So it lets me know in the lower right, and the upload is now complete. I can close that panel. And under my files, I now have that PNG Learn It logo file. Another way to do it is to arrange your screen so you can see the file directory where you have the files from the video description, as well as your drive screen at the same time. So now that I have them arranged like this is the hard drive on my computer, and then I have my drive. I am going to just grab this 2022 sales Excel file, click and hold it, and drag it over, and you'll see that it puts a blue border around where your folders and files are in Drive, and it says drop files to upload them to my drive. I'm going to let it go up there, and it's uploading one item. The upload is complete. I'm going to maximize my drive screen again, and you can see that we used the new button to get the Learn It logo uploaded, and we dragged and dropped 2022 sales Excel file. For organizational purposes, you may want to create folders in your My Drive. And so we're going to do just that. Now, I can do it from either the new button or the My Drive drop down. I'm using My Drive drop down this time, and I'm going to choose New Folder. And I'm going to name the folder 2022 Sales and click on Create. So now in my folder section, I have my previous folder that I have, and I have this newly created 2022 Sales folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the 2022 Sales Excel file and drop it on top of the new folder. And it moves it from My Drive into that folder. So if I double click the 2022 sales folder, I'll see that Excel file in it. And up at the top, I like to point this out. I call it like a breadcrumb trail. It's letting me know where I am. I want to click on My Drive there to get back to My Drive. Now that we have some files and folders, let's take a look at our View button in the upper right. I click on it and it changes it to list layout. So if you want everything listed like this, you could. You would have your folders first and then any files. And then the grid layout is the way that it was originally. So I just figured I'd point that out to you. We saw it a little bit earlier. So and that's a personal choice. It depends on how I'm working, which layout I prefer to use. Now let's talk about some other things you can do with folders. Let's right click on our 2022 sales folders. Now a lot of these things you can do if you right click on a file. A folder has something else there. You can search within the folder from this right click menu, and you can change the color. I'm going to change the color of that folder to like an orange color, just because, right? Now, the other thing you need to know about folders is this. Let's drag that 2022 sales folder to trash. And it lets us know that it will be deleted after 30 days. Move it to trash. Well, the thing is when you delete a folder or you move a folder to trash, any files within it are also in trash. Let's go to our trash folder. Right click on 2022 sales folder and choose Restore. And then go back to My Drive. So the thing is if you want to delete the folder but keep the file, you would have to move the file out of the folder before you delete the folder. Just like we uploaded a file, you can do it from drag and drop or from new. You can also upload a folder from your hard drive. So I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to choose folder upload. And it already has me in my directory, and there is a 2021 sales folder, and I'm going to double click it or click it once and choose upload. So it's asking me for permission to upload a file to this site. I'm going to choose upload. So the upload is complete, and now I have a 2021 sales folder, and when I double click it, I can see that there is an Excel file inside of it. I'm going to go back to my drive and go ahead and give your 2021 sales folder a color. So I've decided to keep all my sales folders the same color, and I colored my Google Forms, my previous folder, with another color. When we did our tour of the display, I pointed out that you can search from the search box up top, and you saw when we right-clicked on a folder that we have the ability to search within the folder. Let's go ahead and click in the search box up top. And you can see, well, this is another login of mine, so just ignore that. You can see that you can search for documents, spreadsheets, presentations, so on and so forth. You can actually search based on the name of the file or folder or contents within it. So in the search box, I'm going to type logo, and notice that it will pull up any file that has the word logo in its name. I'm going to use the X on the right side of the search box to clear the search. And this time I'm going to search for sales. And so I get 4 results, right? I get my sales Excel files as well as both sales folders. And I'm going to do the X on the right again. Now, all the way to the right of the search box, you have an icon, and when you hover over it, it says Show Search Options. Let's click on that. So this is where you can get more specific. I can search for any type of file, and there's even more types here than are in the search box. I can search by the owner of the file. So anyone, things that are owned by me, not owned by me, or owned by a specific person. A file that has certain words in the file. An item name, which is a term that matches part of the file name, like when we did logo and we did sales. The location is set to anywhere. It could be in trash, starred, or encrypted. Date modified. If you're using approvals, it's awaiting my approval or requested by me. Or files that have been shared to a specific person or email address. We're going to put in the Has the Words box, Google Workspace, and at the bottom, we're going to click Search. So I have a couple of things. I have something extra in my drive from a previous course that's in my Forms folder, my Google Forms folder, but you should have that original Google Drive doc as a result, in which we use the words Google Workspace. And I'm going to do the X in the search box. And the other thing I'm going to do is in the search box, with all of these icons here, I'm going to click on folders. So it's showing any folders that you may have. And I'm going to clear the search again and just go back to my drive. Now let's say that you find yourself still working on the 2021 sales and 2022 sales Excel spreadsheets, both of which reside in folders. Now, if you look at the top of your My Drive window, you have suggested. If you search for a file or you open a file, it may add it to the suggested list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the first file I have under suggested. And at the very bottom, I'm going to choose not a helpful suggestion, so it removes it from my suggested list. I'm going to do that with the other file that I have up there as well. Sometimes I just don't want the clutter, and I don't want the suggestions that my drive makes for me. So that's how you can remove them. Now, if I'm working on those two spreadsheets often, say like every day for a while, maybe I'm doing some analysis or the comparison between the sales over the 2 years, whatever the case may be, I don't want to have to come into Drive, go into the folder to access the file. So I can add shortcuts to my drive, and we're going to do this right now. Let's double click the 2021 sales folder. And then we're going to right click on the 2021 sales Excel file and choose Add Shortcut to Drive. And it gives you some options as to where to place it. I'm going to leave it on my drive. And at the bottom, I'm going to choose Add Shortcut. So now when I go back to my drive, you can see, if I go down under my files, that it has a little curved arrow icon on 2021 sales Excel file, which indicates that there's a shortcut to that file. And if I hover over the file name, it tells me it's a shortcut. So now what I'd like you to do is the same for 2022 sales. Go into the folder and make a shortcut of the Excel file. And now in my drive, you'll see both shortcuts. So an easy way to access files that you're frequently working on. And at the end of the day, if you right click on a shortcut file, right, you see shortcut options. You can move it to somewhere else, add it to star, rename, all of that, make a copy, or remove. So we added shortcuts to my drive to make it easier to locate files without having to go through different folders and stuff. Now, if you have a Workspace business account and you have priority on the left side at the top of your menu, you can work with Drive Priority and Workspaces, which is even more efficient than my shortcuts. So once you add important or frequently accessed files to a workspace in Drive Priority, you can set priority to be your home page. And then that way, every time you go into Drive, you will automatically see important or frequently accessed files as soon as you open the app. So again, if you're using a personal account, you will not be able to do this, but you can either skip this portion of the video or watch to see what the feature does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my priority on the left side. It still will have suggested things in here. I can collapse that area. And here it wants me to create a workspace. So I'm going to create a workspace and I'm going to call it All Sales and create. So now I can add files to this workspace. I'm going to click the Add Files button, and on the right hand side it'll come up with recent files that I've used, right? Then it's broken out by like today, yesterday, last week. And of course, there's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to focus on these two sales Excel files. I can select each one by just clicking on them. And at the bottom, it will tell me that there are two selected and I can insert, or I can drag and drop them. I'm going to go ahead and insert. So now I have, and by the way, at the top, it lets you know that you can have a 25 file limit in any workspace. So at the bottom right, I'm going to select Done. And then I have one other thing that I need to do, and that is I need to go to Settings. So that's the gear icon in your upper right. And I'm going to choose Settings. And again, my storage may look different than yours if you have a personal account. And also, you'll notice as I go down, when I get to the bottom on the General tab, I have the opportunity to make priority my default home page. And I'm going to select that option. And then I'm going to use the left arrow in the upper left to go back to get out of settings. And I'm going to just go to my Google Apps menu, and I'm going to go into Docs. And then I'm going to close my Drive tab in my browser. I'm going to use the Apps menu again to go back to Drive. And this time when I go in, priority is my home page. So it takes me directly to my sales workspace in this case. And I can have other workspaces in here as well. And when you have a workspace, and this one's called All Sales, if I go over to the More Actions ellipses, I can hide the workspace or remove it or rename it. If I hide it, then it will show up down at the bottom under Hidden Workspaces. By the way, when I add files to my workspace, it does not remove them from their original locations. So if I go back to my drive here, and I go into my 2021 sales folder, there's that Excel file. And I'm going to just go back to my drive. So we went into Google settings to enable priority as our home page. And let's go back in to the gear in the upper right and go back into settings so you can become familiar with the other settings. So there's general settings, notification settings, and manage app settings. And again, my settings may differ from yours if you're in a personal account. So my storage, again, broken down is showing here. I can convert uploads to Google Docs editor format. I can change my language settings here. I can allow the ability to create, open, and edit recent Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides files while offline. My density for the view is comfortable. So first I'm going to get out of settings, and I'm going to put this in list layout. I'm going to go back to settings, and my density is comfortable. I'm going to change it to cozy, go back. Looks pretty much the same to me, right? And go back to the gear again, settings, and I'm going to change it to compact, which should make it be a little bit closer. So now I can see a change. I'm going to go back into settings and change it back to comfortable, so it's spaced a little bit more. And then at the bottom under general, you have suggested files. So if you are always unhappy with the suggestions it makes, you can turn off that setting. I find myself hiding or saying this suggestion doesn't work for me a lot. So you may want to turn off that setting. I'm going to turn it off for the shared with me section as well. I'm going to leave make priority my default home page checked. And when we get ready to share, I'm going to leave this checked, show suggested recipients in the sharing dialog. So those are your general settings. On the left, let's go to notifications. So you can get updates about Google Drive items in your browser if you like, if you want to check that. I'm going to uncheck get all updates about Google Drive items via email. You know, you just get so many emails during the day. And for me, when I'm working in the apps, I always have Drive open. So I don't really need the notifications for myself personally. And you can also get all updates about Google Drive items while you're working in Google Chat. And I'm going to uncheck that one as well. That's just my personal preference. And then the last section on the left is Manage Apps Connected to Drive. And so you have all the apps here, and the ones that are managed by Drive are checked to be used by default anyway. I'm going to back out of settings. And last but not least, in this module, I'm going to show you how to sign into an additional Google account. So I'm going to just simply go up in the upper right-hand corner and click on my T, which represents my Google account. And here I can choose add another account. So it's going to force me to log in. Now this is another email address that is not operational in terms of to the public. It's been created just for this course. So if you email it, you will not get a response. So I'm going to put in my alter ego email here and choose next, and go ahead and enter my password and next again. So because I was in Drive under my Trish account, when I signed in, it brings me into Drive for my A account, my alter ego account. And not only that, you can see that I have two different Drive browser tabs open. I'm on my alter ego one, and if I go to the other one, it's still logged in to my T account. But if I go to T again now, you'll see that I'm signed in my T account and also my alter ego account. So I can switch tabs. Now for the purposes of training, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the My Drive for my A account. I'm going to right click on that tab, and I'm going to move that tab to a new window. For the purposes of training, it'll be easier for me to switch windows than to switch tabs. So I'm logged into both my Workspace account, my Workspace training account, and my alter ego account. And before I end this module, because all of you may not be in business accounts, I'm going to go back to settings, and I'm going to not make priority my default home page again, just so I'm on the same My Drive whenever I go in and out of Drive as some of you may be. To recap Module 1, we began using Google Drive. We started by signing into Google Apps from google.com. You learned how to use the Google Apps menu to navigate to the Drive app. And then we reviewed the Google Drive display screen. You learned how to change Google Drive display options from list to grid view, and we revisited that later in the lesson when we actually had files and folders to see the difference. In the 5th lesson, you learned how to create a file from within Drive. We created a very brief document. And then we moved on to learning how to make a copy of a file in 2 different ways, how to move a file to trash in 2 different ways, and how to upload a file from a hard drive in 2 different ways. We went on to creating and managing folders and uploading a folder from a hard drive. You learned how to search for files, how to add shortcuts to My Drive for easy access to files, and how to work with Drive Priority and Workspaces, which then you can make priority your home page for the important files that you're working on, and that will show up whenever you go into Drive. We reviewed and changed some Google Drive settings, and then we ended by signing into multiple Google accounts, which I then moved my additional account to a new browser window. In Module 2, we'll be collaborating in Google Drive. We'll start by sharing a file or folder. Then you'll learn how to share a link to a file or folder. And we'll end after the third lesson by publishing to the web. Now we're going to share a file. The process would be the same for sharing a folder. So the file that I want to share is the Google Drive doc that we created earlier. And I'm going to just right-click on it and click on Share. I could have also chosen Manage Access on that Details panel on the right to get to this screen. So here I can add people and groups that I want to share with. My other account is already here. Otherwise, I could type in the email address to get it to pop up. I'm going to just select my other account, my alter ego account. And notice to the right, it defaults to editor on my drive. So that's the type of access. If I do the drop down next to editor, I can switch it to viewer, where they won't be able to make any changes at all. They'll just be able to read the document. Commenter, where they can suggest changes to the document. Editor is full access to the document. I could also add an expiration date and time for this access. If I don't add an expiration date, access will automatically expire 30 days from when you share at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to leave alter ego with editor access. I don't have animations to our presentation. We went through delivering our entire presentation and then ended by using presenter view and audience tools. In Module 7, we'll be using Google Forms in 6 lessons. As usual, we're going to understand the Forms display screen, and then we'll create a form, add questions, send a form, link to a spreadsheet, and we'll end up by you learning how to view responses. So I've gone back to the Google homepage. And by the way, when you're using the menu, if you click on search, it will take you to this page. I'm going to use the menu and go almost all the way to the bottom, and that's where you'll find forms. And when we get in there, you're going to click the blank template. Just like other apps that we've used, in the upper left-hand corner, you can easily get back to the Forms homepage. You have your rename box, and you have your star if you want to star anything that's important to you. So it goes in the starred folder in Drive, as well as in your My Drive. On the upper right in Forms, you have a different set of icons. The first one that looks like a palette you can use to customize your theme. The second one that looks like an eyeball will take you into preview mode where you can preview your form. Then you have your undo, redo, and send icons. You also have a more ellipsis. And from there, you can make a copy of a form, get a pre-filled link, print, add collaborators, so on and so forth. Underneath all of that, you're on the Questions tab. That's the default tab that you'll be on when you come in. Your Questions tab is where you're going to create the questions for your form. You can also add titles and sections to your form, and you'll get an example of sections here when we start adding our questions. Then you have the Responses tab, which we will visit a little bit later, and you also have a Settings tab. So when you use the blank template, it gives you an untitled form header section where you can also put a form description, and it gives you one untitled question block. On the right side of your screen, you'll have like a sidebar, and it travels with all the questions that you add to your form. So on that sidebar, you have the ability to add a question, to import questions that may exist on other forms you've created, to add a title and description block, to add an image, video, and also a section. And in your lower right-hand corner, you have your question mark where you can seek support and also give feedback. Let's click where it says Untitled Form, and you're going to want to do Control A because it's placeholder text, but if you don't do Control A and select it, it will continue to stay in there. So we are going to name this form Google Workspace Survey. And the form description is going to be used to decide if our organization will switch to Google Workspace. Something like that. Now you notice underneath that you can select any text in either of those two boxes and format it. Insert a link. You can even do number formatting and bulleted formatting. And then you can remove the formatting if necessary. Now, before we deal with the untitled question, we are going to insert a section. So using the right sidebar, Add Section is the last icon. We're going to go ahead and click it. And now what we want to do is click on the untitled question, and you'll notice the 6 dots in the upper center of that question. If you put your mouse on those dots, it will allow you to move the question. We're good with where the question is. If we wanted to move it, we could just slide it up and down by using that arrow. So now we're going to deal with our section, which will make our series of questions a little bit more understandable. So in that untitled section, I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to type, please rate these Google apps by how often you use them. And then in parentheses, I'm going to put 1 equals don't use, semicolon, 5 equals use daily, and close the parentheses and put a period. And so with the section, you'll notice the first section is the header. And underneath that now, since we inserted another section, it says after section 1, continue to next section. There's a drop-down arrow to the right of that, and you can make a different choice here, but the default choice is what we want, continue to next section. So in section 2, we have the section header. You notice it says there the description is optional. And for the section header, it has a more ellipsis to the right. And you can see that you can duplicate the section, move it, delete it, or merge with the above section. We're not going to put in a description. We're going to go down to our first untitled question. And the untitled question, you're simply going to type Gmail. And then notice the answer type over on the right was multiple choice, and it automatically switched to short answer. Doesn't really know what we're looking for. We're going to do the drop down arrow next to short answer, and we're going to select linear scale. And it defaults to 1 to 5, which is what we want. And we're going to give the 1 and the 5 labels that mirror what we put in the parentheses in the section header. So the first label next to the 1 is going to be don't use. And next to 5, we're going to have a label that says use daily. At this point, we have 6 more apps that we want to put on this form with the same linear scale, same labels and everything. So instead of using the plus sign to add a question on the right sidebar, at the bottom of your Gmail question, you're going to hover over the two pieces of paper and we're going to duplicate that question. And then all we have to change is the name of the app, and this will be Sheets. We're going to duplicate Sheets, and it's going to be Docs. I'm going to duplicate Docs and type Slides. Duplicate Slides, type Forms, and we have two more, and I'm going to have you do them on your own by pausing the video. So you want to duplicate Forms and have a question for calendar and another question for contacts. So just to make sure you have them all, it's Gmail, Sheets, Docs, Slides, Forms, Calendar, and Contacts. And notice as I'm scrolling that sidebar is traveling to the right of every question. And so on the sidebar, we have the contacts question selected. On the sidebar, we're going to add another new section. And this section is going to be, I'm going to click where it says Untitled Section, do my Control A to select that text. And I am going to type, please select any additional apps you currently use. And again, we're not going to put in a description for that. What we're going to do is go over and we're going to add a question using the sidebar. And this question, we want to make it, if you look at the answer type first, it defaults to multiple choice. We're going to do the drop down and we're going to select checkboxes so they can have more than one thing selected. The question, we're just going to put apps. And then we're going to click where it says option 1. And when you click there, it should select all of that text. And we're going to type chat. I can use my down arrow for it to go down to and select option 2 for me. And option 2 is going to be spaces. Option 3, meet. 4, keep. 5, tasks. And last but not least, drive. So then we decide to make our section headers bold. So I'm going to just click on that section 3 of 3 header, select everything. And I can use Control B here, or I can click on the B icon. And I'm going to go up to my section 2 header and do the same thing. And I think the title is fine. So the next topic is sending a form, but before I send a form, I like to preview it. So go ahead and click on your eyeball icon in the upper right. And you'll see next, it gives you the title block. And then when you do next, it goes to the next section and includes the title block at the top. And so this is our section 2, where we're listing the apps and using the linear scale. And then at the bottom, you have back, next, and clear form, although you're not going to use this to fill out the form. We're going to choose next, and it takes us to our third and final section about other apps. And I'll show you that preview opened in its own tab. So I'm going to close the preview tab here and just re-maximize my browser window. So once we preview the form, and this is also not on the outline, but I'm going to show it to you real quick. You might want to make it more visually appealing. So we're going to go to the paint palette icon to customize the theme. Here you can change your fonts and font sizes. You can add images. I'm just going to change my color. And so the background color, as well as the header, the section colors, really get the color that I chose. And notice the background is a little bit lighter. I can make that darker if I like. And I'm going to go ahead and close the theme panel. So now you can go ahead and click on the send button in the upper right corner, and you can send forms via email, which is the default, via link. You can get a link to the form and copy it, and then you can send the link via chat or some other mechanism. And you can also embed it on an HTML page. We're going to keep it on email, and I'm going to send it to my alter ego. I'm also at the bottom going to include it in the form in an email. I usually check that because I like to do that, although you don't have to check it. So I'll leave that choice up to you. I'm going to go ahead and address it. It gives the subject, which is the name of the form, and it gives a default message, and I'm fine with that. So I'm going to address it. I can add someone else as an editor of the form in the bottom left if I want to. So when they receive it, they can actually edit it. Otherwise, I'm just mimicking how someone who's responding to it would respond. So I'm going to go ahead and address this and click send. In my alter email, I see I can just click the link to fill out the form. And it lets me know that it's going to automatically save my work. I'll just say, okay. So I'm going to click next. And I'm going to just do some random numbers on this linear scale here. Random choices. And then when I get to the bottom on this section, I'm going to go next and fill out the last section. And you can do the same. And then you'll have your submit button. So there's a setting that allows respondents to submit another response. And I'd like us to submit another response and mix it up a little bit from your first response. So Alter has submitted 2 responses. I'm going to switch back over to my Trish account. So now you'll see at the top of my screen, there's a 2, the number 2, to the right of my responses tab, because I've received 2 responses to this form. So I'm going to go to the responses tab. At the top, it says 2 responses. It's on a summary tab. There's also a question tab. So these are the tab locations I'm talking about. Summary, question, and there is also an individual tab. And above those tabs on the right, you'll see a green icon, and if you hover over it, it says create spreadsheet, and we'll get back to that in a few. It also has more options, so we'll go over some of these. And this form is accepting responses. And this is a key one. Let's say you're doing this survey and you want to end the survey in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you can come in and toggle that so the form no longer accepts responses. And then on the summary tab, you're seeing each question, and it's showing both of the responses for each of those linear scale questions, right? So you're seeing everything. And then it's showing the additional apps responses. And you'll notice to the right of all the responses, you could copy the chart if you'd like and paste it somewhere else as necessary. If you go to the question tab, it's showing the first question, right? So it's showing both responses for Gmail. There's a right arrow you can use to go to the next question, or you can do the drop down next to Gmail and go through the questions that way. And lastly, you have the individual tab. And you'll notice at the top of the individual tab, you can print responses. It's on response 1. So it's showing all the questions and all the responses for the first respondent. And back up at the top, I can go to the next response and look at those in the same manner. So you have your summary tab, your question tab, and your individual tab, which can be printed. A really cool feature in Forms, and you can do this from any of the responses tabs, is you can link the form to a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet will be stored in Drive, and the responses will be in the spreadsheet as they come in. So in order to do that, we're going to use that green icon in the upper right corner. And when you hover over it, it says Create Spreadsheet. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And it gives you the ability to create a new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. So let's cancel out of here for a moment because I realize that we never clicked in our rename box. So let's click in our rename box so we get the Google Workspace survey name up there. And then we'll go to the green icon. So instead of saying untitled form now, so it's going to create a new spreadsheet and it's going to be named after your form, and in parentheses it will say responses. And we're going to go ahead and create. So you can see it automatically opens the form. It gives it a timestamp. And it's showing you the responses by question. And because this is on Drive, if there are more responses, this spreadsheet will update as well. In this module, we focused on using Google Forms. We started by getting into Forms and understanding the Forms display screen. And then we created a form. We added sections and then questions, and then you learned how to preview your form, and we decided to add a theme to it for some more visual appeal. You then learned how to view your form responses in Forms and how to link the form to a spreadsheet, and you saw how the spreadsheet is where you could go to view your form responses as well. In our 8th and final module, we'll be using Google Meet over 8 lessons. We'll start by scheduling a video meeting from Google Calendar. You'll learn how to join a video meeting, and then you'll learn about the Meet display screen. You'll also learn how to present your screen during a meeting, and then how to manage meetings, how to change your audio and video settings, how to start a video meeting both from Gmail and ending with starting a video meeting from Google Meet. So we're going to get started by scheduling a video meeting from Google Calendar. I'm going to use the Apps menu to get to my calendar. And I'm going to just go 2 days out. For me, it would be Friday the 13th. And I am going to double click on any appointment line. And so the first thing I'm going to do at the top on the left is I'm going to add a title. And this is going to be called Company-Wide Meeting. I'm going to set this to an all-day event that does not repeat. And my scenario for this is I have people in time zones all across the United States. So the meeting will go from 8 to 5 p.m. and it will start in the earliest time zone. So that's the East Coast, and travel across the country until everybody is in the meeting at the same time. Under event details, the first thing you see is add Google Meet video conferencing, and I'm going to click that. It gives me a code. I'm going to click in add location, and I'm going to type the word remote. And you notice it brings up a bunch of stuff called remote all around the country. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click away from that so it just selects my remote. I'm going to change my availability to busy on the left. And then in the add description box, I'm going to type, this is the meeting where we will discuss whether to adopt Google Workspace for our organization. Your input is critical for this decision. Looking forward to picking your brains. On the right side, I'm going to go ahead and add my alter ego as a guest. Once you add guests here, press enter, and then you'll see them down below. If the guest you're adding is already on the list, when you click there, you can just click on them and they will show down below. So under guest permissions on the right, I'm going to say that my guests can only see the guest list, not modify the event or invite others. Up at the top, I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And it asks me if I'd like to send invitation emails to Google Calendar guests, and I'm going to choose send. So the all day event shows up at the very top of that day. It's not on any specific time slot because it's an all day event. Even without sending an email, this event is already on Alter Ego's calendar as a pending event. I'm going to switch over now to Alter Ego's email. In Alter's email, I'm going to just respond to this. I'm going to just say yes, click the yes button. And if I scroll down and slightly to the right, when I'm ready to join the meeting, I can use this link in the email. Now back on Trisha's calendar, I can double click that company-wide meeting, and you can see here, I have an RSVP, right? I can add a note for guests, and you can see down here that 2 guests, including myself, the organizer, I have 2 yeses. So it keeps a tally of people responding. And I'm going to just go ahead and save. Now I am going to join the meeting from my calendar. I'm back in my Trish calendar. I'm going to just double click it to open it up. And now the icon says join with Google Meet. I don't have my video. I have my video lid closed. And in that video screen at the bottom, you can turn off your microphone or turn off your camera, and this would be universal for everyone. You also can check your audio and video if necessary. On the right side, on the bottom of the video, you see apply visual effects. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it opens up a new pane. And it's on the effects tab. And by the way, if you had checked your audio and video, it would be on the audio and video tab. So on the effects tab, there's a couple of new things there. And then there's a bunch of backgrounds. And then filters if I scroll down. And then there are styles. So if I want to apply a different background in my home office, and I'm going to go back to the top, and I'm going to click the X in the upper right-hand corner. Now on the right side, it's letting me know that no one else is here. I can join now. I'm going to go ahead and join now. So that was like a preview, and now you're seeing the meeting interface. And on the bottom left, it tells you the time, the name of the meeting. You have a series of icons. You can turn off your microphone or you can turn off your camera. You can also turn on captions. A participant can raise their hand to get your attention if you're presenting. Present Now gives me the ability to present my screen to everyone in the meeting. Then there's more options where I can open a Jam whiteboard. I can change the layout, apply visual effects, some of the stuff that's on the icons there, report a problem, so on and so forth. And then you have the hang up button or leave call when you're ready to leave the call. On the right, you have meeting details information icon. So when I click that, it shows me the details of the meeting. It shows the name, the description, the time, the date and time, the fact that it's located at remote. And then if I needed to copy the joining info really quickly and send it to somebody in a chat, I can get it right from there. And I'm going to close the meeting details pane. And then to the right of that, it's letting me know that there's only one person in the meeting. It's showing, I can show everyone and you're just seeing me if I click that icon. I can open up a chat screen that I can send chats to everyone. And by default, people that are in the meeting can also send chat messages. I can close that panel. Usually, if I'm doing a remote training course with live people in the audience, not a video, then I have the chat on so that people that, can't speak up or whatever can still participate. Then there's an activities icon where you can get to breakout rooms, polls, record your meetings, whiteboards. And last but not least, there are host controls. And so I'm the host and I am turning on host management. I'm letting everybody in the meeting share their screen, send chat messages, turn on their microphones, and turn on their videos. So now Alter is going to join the meeting, and Alter is going to join from that join meeting button in the email that she was sent. So the first thing you'll see is someone wants to join this call. As the host, you can remove anyone at any time. I'm going to go ahead and admit, and that's just a setting that I used. And now my screen changes. Alter Ego is not on video. So they just show as the letter A, and my video is now in the lower right-hand corner. It's the opposite on Alter Ego's screen. My video fills up most of the screen, and their letter A is in the lower right corner. So at this point, I want to share my screen. I want to share that Google Workspace survey form with everybody in the meeting. So I'm going to go down to my Present Now icon, and I'm going to share a tab. So your choice is your entire screen, a window, or a tab. I have the form open in a different browser tab, and then I can see the survey there, and I'm going to share. And so now I can see, and everybody in the meeting can see this survey form, and we can discuss it during the meeting. And then if I want to stop sharing at the top, I can choose stop sharing. Now, in the meantime, on Alter's screen, my shared screen is taking up most of the space. My video is on the top right. I'm going to choose stop sharing. So now when I look in my lower right corner, first of all, I'm seeing that there are 2 people in the meeting. And to the right of that, I have a little notification on the chat with everyone. When I open it up, I can see that Alter Ego sent me a chat. And I can reply back. Everybody in the meeting would see this. And that's how that works. And I'm going to go ahead and close the in-call messages window. And now we'll just make believe that this meeting is over. So at the bottom, I'm going to click the hang up, the leave call button. And because I'm the host, I can end the video call for everyone. I'm going to do that. Otherwise, you would just leave the call and everyone can hang up on their own. But in my case, since I'm managing 2 people in the meeting at the same time, that ended for me. And so it always asks you for a survey, and I'm going to give my feedback. And it takes me to Google Meet's home screen. I'm back in Trisha's calendar, and I want to show you some other things that you can do in terms of managing your meetings. So I'm going to just double click this company-wide meeting. And again, the link is still active here, right? But what I'm going to do is up at the top, I'm going to select the More Actions drop down. So you can print out your meeting details. You can delete a meeting from here. You can duplicate a meeting if you have a similar one coming up, right? You can publish an event. And if you click on that, it gives you a block of HTML code. So if you have your website, you can use this code on your site so that visitors can add this event to their calendar. Or you can copy the link to the event from that drop down. And then the only other option you have is to change the owner. So I'm the owner of this, I'm the organizer, therefore the owner. I'm the owner of this meeting, or I could set it up and switch it to someone else as the owner of the meeting. And I'm going to go ahead and close this company-wide meeting. Now let's say that you have multiple cameras and multiple microphones on your computer or computers. So I'm going to double click this company-wide meeting again, and I'm going to rejoin it as myself. No need for me to get alter in this one. So down at the bottom where it says check your audio and video, this is one thing you can do. You're seeing your levels here, right? And I'm going to just close that panel. And then I'm going to join now. And when I join now, I'm going to go to this ellipsis to the left of the leave call button. And I'm going to go to settings. And this is where I can see my default microphone versus any other microphones that I might have, right? And it's showing I'm on the default, and you're seeing my voice register there, right? And then I can go to my speakers down here, and these are the speakers that I can be using, my choices of speakers. And then on the left, I can go to video, and I can choose which camera I want to use, right? And I can also adjust my video lighting. So once you join a meeting and you go to settings, if you're having problems with your audio and video, a lot of times it's because it's defaulting to the wrong audio or video source, and you can change it through settings. I'm going to go ahead and close that screen, and I'm going to leave this call. I'll end it for everyone. And I'm going to return to the home screen for Meet. Now, from the home screen from Meet, you can, of course, start a new meeting or join one by entering a code or a link. But in the upper right-hand corner, you have settings as well. And so before you join a meeting, if you're joining it from Meet, you can make sure your defaults are right in terms of audio and video. Our final lesson is how to start a video meeting from Gmail. So I'm going to navigate using my apps menu to Gmail. And if you do this next thing once, you won't have to do it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link Gmail to Meet. And to do that, I'm going to use the settings gear in the upper right-hand corner. And right under apps in Gmail, you'll see chat and meet, and then underneath it, a customized link, which we're going to click. At the bottom, I'm going to just go ahead and check both of those boxes, chat and meet, and then I'm going to choose done. And it lets you know that your Gmail needs to reload so those changes will be visible. So I'm going to go ahead and reload. And like I said, that's a one and done. If you ever want to undo it, you just go back to the gear and uncheck those two things and customize. And so on the left side of your screen now, you'll see 4 icons: Mail, Chat, Spaces, and Meet. We're going to click on Meet. And when you come in here, you can start a new meeting, or you can join a meeting with a code. Before we do that, let me explain my meetings. It says any video meetings scheduled in Google Calendar will show up here until you access them. So we access that company-wide meeting. Otherwise, it would be showing in this list. Now, it would show in this list for Alter as well if they customize their Gmail and if they have accepted or responded to the invitation. We're going to go ahead and click on New Meeting. And then it just says, share your new meeting. Copy this link and send it to people you want to meet with. Be sure you save it so you can use it later too. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link. Now, I could copy that link and send it to somebody in an email. I could send it to somebody in a chat. Down at the bottom, I can send an invite, right? The other option I have, so this could be like an off-the-cuff meeting, right? Need to meet with somebody like right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Now. And I have my camera shuttered, but it took me right into the meeting. So I'm dumped right into the meeting here. I'm going to go ahead and leave the call. And I can rejoin. I'm going to return to the home screen. And now I'm back on my Meet app. And you can also, right from the Google Meet home screen, you can click on New Meeting. From here, you can create a meeting for later. You can start an instant meeting, or you can schedule in Google Calendar. I'm going to choose Create a Meeting for Later. And it basically just gives me the link, which I can copy, send it to people. And you want to make sure that you send it to yourself so you have that link for yourself as well. So a few more choices than the linking Meet to Gmail that you have when you start a new meeting from the Google Meet home screen. In this 8th and final module, we began using Google Meet. We started by scheduling a video meeting from Google Calendar, and then you learned how to join a video meeting from Google Calendar as well as from an invitee's email. We went over the Meet display screen, and you learned how to present your screen in a meeting. We went on to managing meetings, looking at all the other options that we have available. You learned how to change your audio and video settings. And then we moved on to linking Meet with Gmail and starting a video meeting from Gmail.